Hello everyone, it's the Magical One here, and today I am talking to Lauren, aka WolfieeLore, with two E's, who is a Twitch streamer, YouTuber, a partner with goodoldgames.com, and community manager for Big Sur Games, as well as a podcast runner for spooky goings-on and conspiracy theories and ghost stories and whatnot. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I am good. Did I miss anything?
Did you say voice actor?
I did, and voice actor as well.
Voice actor as well.
Yeah. But yes, voice actor as well. Okay. So yeah, lots of fingers in many projects at the moment, and lots going on for you. Where did this kind of I mean, you wear many hats in terms of having different job roles. So which one of these came first? Where did all this start?
So the voice acting came first. I just finished. It was before, because I was in uni. So it was before uni. One of my friends, called Paul, is a animator, and he was just doing a cartoon. He does lots of different cartoons and stuff. And he was like, "Did you want to do a voice for a cartoon?" And I was like, "No, my voice isn't that good." Like, I was like really shy. Like, sure, I suppose I'll do something. I ended up doing it, and he's like, "Your voice is really good. You should do stuff with that." And I was like, "I'll keep that in consideration." And then I went back to uni, did a science degree, came out of uni, but then I always wanted to go into acting in general, but because acting itself is very, very superficial and stuff, I was like, why don't I just do voice acting instead? Then it's not, the current pressure isn't on like the image, it's just on the voice. So you can look like anything, but have a decent voice and stuff. And they focus on that and not the appearance. So yeah.
That's a lot of reason I got into voice acting, is I loved acting, but I was limited by my own physicality. So yeah, with voice acting, you can play anything. You can be a 7-foot-tall minotaur or a 2-foot-tall gnome. As long as you can turn your voice to it, you can kind of be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of, it's a much bigger playground to be in as an actor, which is fun.
Yeah, it feels like there is no limitations. That's what's really nice. And then I got into that, and that was great and stuff, and I'm still doing it now. And then I started to venture out into the other areas of creativity, because I said to myself, because the science degree was really intense, and I was like, I was doing the science degree for like a backup, so I was like doing something really kind of like high level to always have that in case I need to. I can go work in a pharmacy or do stuff down that route in life if I have to. But the minute I finished it, I was like, right now, creative time. So that is why I have so many different things on the go, because I'm just trying to do this, do that, do this, and just kind of explore every aspect of creativity I can. So that's why I'm here now.
So the science degree, was that like a genuine career path, something you've always been interested in?
I've always loved science at school. I originally wanted to be a vet. But I was all ready for it and stuff like that. And I went and did some work experience for 2 weeks, and the place was really nice. Everyone was lovely there, but the tasks they gave me were really off-putting. Okay. It was like constant seeing all the surgeries and stuff. I'm okay with that, but it does make your stomach turn a bit where you're just watching it. And then other stuff was they made me put down an animal, and I didn't. It was right at that part. The 2 weeks I just saw lots of death and stuff, and I was like, I love animals and stuff. I thought I wanted to do this career, but there is just so much death.
Yeah. I think a lot of kids, when they have the theory of, oh, I'd love to be a vet when I grow up, a lot of them do get to that point of, you're going to have to put down a lot of animals, and they go, oh yeah, maybe not then. Because they
exactly.
Being a vet because they love animals and they want to help them and heal them and things like that. And obviously there's that other side of it as well. So and I think that is the point where people either commit or step away and things. So but yeah, so you kept in sort of an adjacent scenario and did science at uni to give you options, I suppose.
Yeah, because I do like science. Like I really enjoy it still, biology and stuff. I just find it fascinating. Like there is, like, I don't know, there's always doors open. It's just there in case one day. I really like robotics and AI and stuff, and it's nice just to have that in the background in case you want to, like, some point in life, go, do you know what? I want to go, if you could, work for SpaceX, or I want to go do this or do that. You like having those options open.
Because you're a space fan, aren't you? I've seen you in your NASA jacket a few times.
I love space so much.
And you were sort of tweeting about the SpaceX launches and things like that. And
they're so fun. Like, it's like literally like sci-fi. I know I'm not that old, but like,
within our lifetime, there's been significant developments in journeys into space and stuff, and it is what was science fiction is becoming science fact. So yeah, it's a cool time to be alive in that way.
It's just the footage, just when you like see like it slowly just land down, like it looks fake. It doesn't look real. It's just it looks like a plastic toy that's being put down and stuff, and it's just mind-boggling. And then there's a hyperloop as well, and like the idea is what they're going to do with that, like traveling from one city to another. No, traveling from one side of America to the other side of America in a few hours. It's just like, wow.
And have you heard about the line in Dubai?
No, what's that?
Oh, okay, this is cool. So I think it's called Neon. I might be butchering a pronunciation there, but in Dubai they're creating a line of cities. I think it's like 4 or 5 cities in a row, where in between all of the buildings, rather than having grids with streets, the buildings are more spread out, and there will be wildlife and greenery at street level, and all of the streets are underground.
Oh, that's so cool.
There'll be a fully automated transport system on like the sub basement, so people can get around. And all of the shop fronts and walkways that would be the normal streets are on the basement. So you've got buildings, but then you've got wildlife, and then underneath that you've got, you know, when you go into like a subway and you see all like the shops in the subway and things. It'd be kind of like that, where people can walk around in those streets. And then if you go down another level, you can just jump into the nearest transport pod, and it'll take you where you want to go. And it's 5 cities all in a row, heading in country. So from the coast all the way in, that are all going to be like that and interlinked with each other.
That's so cool. I didn't know about that. I'm going to like research it after that. It sounds really cool.
It's a wild plan, and I'm kind of hyped about it. So
yeah.
But yeah, so you were doing voice acting. You got into that. You've had that opportunity where you finished uni and got to the point where it was like, right, okay, I want to expand my creativity.
Yeah.
Did you go into like the podcasting side of things first, or was it the gaming with YouTube and Twitch and Good Old Games and Big Sur Games, that kind of stuff first, or?
So that's funny as well. Wait, so I didn't mention that I started live streaming on the interwebs when I was about 16.
Oh wow.
So I just played guitar basically. There was a site called Blog TV, which was way before. It was when Twitch TV was Justin TV.
I remember.
So it was like when everything was quite old and stuff. So I did lots of kind of that on and off, but there was no schedule. I just jumped on when I wanted to and stuff. And I did do some YouTube videos when I was a kid and stuff. Like a lot of people did and stuff. I did the casual videos.
I mean, you still do singing and playing guitar streams and things like that at the moment, don't you? So.
Yeah. I can just play a lot better now, because when I was a lot younger, it was horrendous. But yeah, so I'm trying to think. So I got into the voice acting after the uni. Then I went full time with that. I left my other job and I was like, I'm just going to do this full time, the voice acting. And then I kept going to conventions and stuff. But every time I found that I went to conventions, I wanted to be more involved in video games because they're really cool.
Well, that's the thing. Were you a gamer before this point, or?
Yeah. I've been a gamer since I was 8 years old. So.
Oh wow.
I used to play Age of Empires, Settlers. Trying to think. 3D Movie Maker. Trying to think. Zoom Vinnies. Like I'm trying to think of really, really old games that probably aren't that old, but they seem old to me now.
Well, things like Settlers of Age of Empires. I know you've kind of played them more recently and kind of gone back to them on some of your streams and things. But yeah, that's kind of the DOS gaming era of point-and-click RTSs and stuff. So.
So, so good. And then also like Pink Panther, point and click adventure, like just all the really old stuff. So, because I have siblings, like we'd all share one like PC and stuff when we were growing up and everything. So, whatever games my brother got, I got to play and everything, which was really nice because he used to get Final Fantasy and stuff like that. Then I'd just sit there and just watch for hours because he wouldn't let me go on the PlayStation. I'm enjoying the game. But yeah, so I've been gaming quite a while.
So you effectively got to a point where it's like, oh, hang on a second, I can combine these interests of voice acting and gaming and get more involved.
Yeah, I was like, because I went to the conventions to do like marketing and stuff, but the more and more I saw and spoke to developers, it kind of like, I always thought developers were like really hard to speak to, like all that you'd have to like email 1,000 people to try to speak to developers about games. But you know, when you go to EGX and stuff, they're all there. Basically, the creator is just there. And you're like, wow, who made this game? And this guy's like, me, on my own, in Unity. And you're like, oh my God, you're here. You're a person. You're right here. This is strange. So that's how I got into it. I started speaking to him. I was like, I really want to start getting into video games. Try to do voice acting in video games because that would be the dream.
Yeah.
And then I started to look into just getting more roles, seeing if there's any maybe community management or stuff like that, or just some way to get into the industry and be like, hey, I'm a part of this industry. It's pretty damn cool. But yeah.
That's how you bumped into Big Sur Games, I take it.
Yeah. So I was looking all around and then I saw this role and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to try for it. Because a few years prior I'd been in Chicago and this role said Chicago but remote. And I was like, oh my God. I took it as a sign and I applied for it and I got the job and it was really, really cool. And I'm still there now, so it's doing really well.
So what kind of duties do you perform with Big Sur Games? Like as a community manager, what does your role entail?
So I do basically I do newsletters for them. I do all their handling of their social media, so their Twitter, their Instagram, their TikTok, their Discord. What else am I missing? I need Facebook. So basically, continuously trying to like wear loads of different hats and do either advertising or just social outreach and stuff, and just kind of building a community, but also kind of promoting what we are going to have released. And just being like, come and join us. This is pretty cool and stuff. You'll be interested in it. Jump in and stuff like that. Would you like this game? So it's a lot of different things.
Quite a varied and involved role, and but mainly promotion, building a community, sort of, just sort of growing everything, social media at the same time. So yeah, that's cool. That's quite involved. And then Good Old Games came along.
Yeah, Good Old Games was before the Big Sur Games. There you go. So once again, my animating friends saw an opportunity at GOG. They saw that there was applications open for guest streamers, and because I'd been streaming on Twitch for about, I think, 3 years at this point, I was just trying to look for just kind of a community to be a part of and kind of expand in. And then because I saw that they had the opportunity, I was like, right, I'm going to apply. I'm gonna like reach out and stuff, and then see if maybe I could be a part of a team and everything.
Because how many followers did you have at that point? And you've got like almost 4,500 followers on Twitch now, which is amazing.
Yeah,
but how much did you have at that point?
I think maybe 1,000, 2,000. Maybe.
Still like a decent following in order to sort of approach them and be considered by them.
Yeah, and just be like, I'll just try this out. The worst thing that happens is I don't get it, and that's fine, kind of thing. Like if you go into it and just be like, if you like me, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very honest way to approach that sort of thing, of just doing what everybody always says, which is being yourself, which actually, cheesy as it sounds, it's the truth.
It does work a lot, because if you're not yourself, like, the same works with jobs as well. If you go into jobs saying you have all these skills and then you don't have the skills, then you're in a situation where you're going to struggle, especially if you go into a situation with a different personality than the one you have. Eventually people are going to be able to tell the difference, like that person's not really like that. So yeah, I went in with a kind of just myself basically. I got a guest, so they do like they do slots and stuff, so they would give you a guest streamer slot, so you'd have 3 hours to just broadcast on their channel and showcase what you were doing. So yeah, that's what I did. I did a nice little showcase for 3 hours, dressed up in the cosplay for it. It was great.
That's another thing that I didn't mention at the start as well. You're an occasional cosplayer as well.
As well, yeah. The
thing is, not only do you dress up on quite a few of your streams when it is like fits the game. I know you did like a full face makeup for like Cyberpunk and stuff like that, which was really fun. And but you also go to quite a few conventions in cosplay as well, don't you?
Yeah, I did. I went as Lara Croft, Rey from Star Wars. I'm trying to think if I did any more.
You've been Supergirl before, but I don't know if that was for a convention.
Oh, that was just for a party. No, but there's so many cosplays I want to do because, again, that's another kind of. I like being so creative, but it's like you just want to fall down these rabbit holes, but you never return from them. Like cosplayers, they put so much work into just making things from scratch, and it just like. Well, skill.
I'm very much of the opinion that cosplay is cosplay, and yes, there are people who put loads of effort into creating things from scratch, but there's some people who just buy their cosplays, and I don't think that's any less valid. It's still
not at all.
Expressing a love for a character that you found either inspirational or enjoyable, and things, and again, it's like you say, it's expressing yourself, but it's also combining interests. You know, of being able to dress up and have fun and can go to conventions, but also showing your interest in gaming or fandoms and that kind of stuff. So
I just love it, honestly, because you always, when you go to conventions dressed up, people just want to speak to you, and it's really sweet. Like you just see other people that are dressed up as well, and you're just like, hey, like you like, it's like that Spider-Man meme where he looks like yourself, it's me, and you find others that are all dressed up exactly the same. It's so cool. And it's really nice. It's just fun on the train there as well. You know what the trains are like to the EGX Centre. There's thousands of people just packed on this train, and everyone's in different outfits from like, I don't know, Attack on Titan, and then you got like Star Wars, and you got like so many different things.
Yeah, you can definitely spot the people who are going where you're going. Not just the cosplayers, but quite often the people who are just attending the event.
Yeah, because they're all kind of looking around like, am I at the right platform? You know the people. You kind of like, whenever I'm lost or I get lost at those conventions, I just kind of straggle behind them and I just follow them, and I'm like, we're all going to the same place. But yeah.
So obviously cosplay conventions, you started doing the streaming on Good Old Games, became community manager with Big Sur Games, and that's just kind of all helped each thing grow, hasn't it? Like your Twitch, as I say, you've grown it into almost 4,500 followers, which is incredible. And your YouTube, you started putting more onto there as well recently. And your podcast is getting views as well now.
It is.
But obviously your podcast is not so much to do with video games, but more of a slightly different interest, which is supernatural and the spookiness and sometimes conspiracy theories as well.
Yes. Actually, there's an episode going up later today, which I'll be working on in a bit. I wrote all the script up. I just need to record it. But so Voices from the Attic, originally called Spirit and Lore, but I changed it because I felt like I wanted to do more true crime, because I find it fascinating, not in like a sick way, but like I like knowing the motives behind why people do things, or knowing the timeline of how that happened, or how we got from A to B, and why this became, like, I always enjoy watching the documentaries just to see like what changes have happened. Or you get the true crime, which is like something just doesn't add up. There's always something randomly in a famous case that won't add up, and you're like, why is that?
Yeah, I mean, you could stem it back to a lot of original writings, but the kind of whodunit stuff always has interest to people throughout history. True crime has a huge resurgence, especially things like serial killers at the moment, from not only documentaries but also fictitious versions of it, and dramatizations. But then you've also got TV shows like NCIS and Criminal Minds, and CSI, and so it's kind of a big industry in terms of fictional or factual crime and stuff. So it's interesting you've end up launching something different, but you definitely try and drill down onto specific cases, don't you?
Yeah, so I find the cases that are the most kind of mysterious, the ones that are normally unsolved, or the ones which don't really add up. For instance, I did the Diana one last week, Princess Diana, because something about that case is very, very strange. And
oh, this is getting more into conspiracy theory rather than true crime to a certain degree as well.
Yeah.
I mean, have you always had an interest in conspiracy theories, or?
Yes, I've always been into the ghosts and spirits and conspiracy and aliens since I was quite young as well.
Interesting. How do you sort of marry this up with your love of science and fact in that way? Because obviously the two things slightly can be opposed at times. If you talk about things like faking the lunar landings and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've found in science, studying it, doing it, all that stuff, that there is a lot that can't ever be summed up with science. There is always, and every single day, there is a difference in the original textbook that we've been taught with. Like originally it will say this enzyme doesn't do this, or this DNA doesn't do this. And a week later, oh, well, we found a new DNA that does this. And it's always continuously unknown in itself. So I think that it's continuously moving, that they don't even know what they're doing in a sense. Like science is us trying to put logic to something which has a lot of the time very illogical responses, especially when I did lots of experiments. It would say in the textbook the experiment's meant to do this result, and you do it exactly how it told you, and then you get this result, and you'd be like, that's weird, do it again, you get this result. You're like, I'm checking everything, but it's giving me something entirely different. So I think that's, a lot of people can be very science driven and be like, science, there's no God, everything's this, everything's atoms, everything's this and so forth, and very kind of concrete with things. But I feel like I enjoy having kind of an open mind, because we were basically created from stardust. Our entire existence, and there's so many experiences I've had as a young child, and growing up I've had very strange things that I can't find in any textbook. And I've looked, researched, and I can't explain it. So yeah.
So would you say that your both interests are valid to you because you're constantly in pursuit of discovery and what the truth actually is, one way or the other?
Yeah, I'm always trying to find the truth of things, and if I can't and it's unknown, then it's kind of exciting. I think if you can't find a placement for why that's there, logically, okay, I've done everything and it's not fair, so why is it happening? And then it's like, well, it might be something else that we've not discovered yet, or something we can't wrap our heads around.
Well, I think with like conspiracies in general, there are quite a few of them that have more obvious spuriousness to their facts. Things like the assassination of JFK. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with it, and people talk about the conspiracies behind 9/11 and some of the weird stuff that happened there. Even if you don't assume some of the more wild conspiracy theory stuff, things like the Bin Laden family were in America at the time, and they were exfiltrated from the country by the American government without being questioned or interrogated, which is a strange circumstance of events in
exactly
itself. So yeah, there are definitely some conspiracy theories that have more obvious spurious facts about them that can be looked into. But when you're looking at some of the more derided conspiracy theories, I suppose, things like the flat Earth conspiracy theory and things like the lunar landing fakes and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, do you give? Are you open to some of those being real, or where do you stand on things like that? Because I don't know, some people see it as silly, and some people are just like, no, it could be real. And how far do you go into this this depth.
Oh, when I look into the conspiracies and stuff, I try to see there needs to be at least a logical like reason why that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So with the flat Earth, we do actually have we have enough evidence to prove that it isn't flat.
Yeah.
We've had people travel around the world. So it's very that's not very logical, and there is many things which just prove that. Whereas a lunar landing, I'm just surprised we've not seen more since the big one that happened. We've not seen many people go to Mars much more. So I'm like, I'd like to. It's weird that they haven't. That's a bit strange. But I'm on the fence about that one.
Interesting.
It's because we're trying to really shoot for Mars over and over again, but why are we not? Is it boring to visit the moon? Is it
Well, I would certainly say what quite a lot for me in terms of debunking conspiracy theories comes down to who benefits from this.
Yeah.
So things like you're saying about the virus outbreak, obviously China benefits from lying about that because they don't want people knowing that they're developing any kind of weaponized virus or anything like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you're talking about things like JFK, the organized crime or people behind the assassination, they would benefit from keeping it quiet. Fair enough, there's a benefit there. Flat Earth, who benefits? Massive global conspiracy. I can't see how is what are they getting out of this? This lie. Yeah, it doesn't there's no benefit there. Nobody's profiting off that, there's no motive behind it. And it's kind of the same thing with the lunar landings. Yeah, we lied about landing on the moon. Okay, why? For what?
I don't. You're right. I don't see any
no clear benefit to it. And obviously, in terms of revisiting at the expense of getting a craft to the moon, landing on the moon, and then getting off the moon, escaping the moon's gravity, and especially as we had a mission that failed so spectacularly in its goal to get there, and the cost that it created for NASA in order to get there that went so wrong would have set them back quite significantly. And so far, samples that we've taken from the moon have gone that it's a big hunk of rock and there ain't much going on. So whereas on Mars we've got things like the ice deposits which may contain microorganisms. I think there was a thing recently saying that they've definitely found microorganisms now, which is exciting.
They believe they have, which would be plausible for growth on the moon and colonization, maybe.
Potentially, terraforming or something, which would be cool. Yeah. Or we can bring them back and they'll infect us all and we'll all die.
I mean, bit of both.
But ultimately, whenever people come to me with questionable conspiracy theories, who's benefiting from this? And that tends to separate out the potential for something weird going on and the likelihood of it being silly.
Exactly.
We'll switch tack ever so slightly. Your the other aspect to the podcast is very much based in ghost stories and supernatural, and obviously I'm aware that you have an interest in things like witchcraft as well.
I do.
And has that been something you've been interested in for a very long time, or is that more of a recent interest? Or
that's been a very long time, but I've not made it very, very public because people laugh about it, and it seems like it's becoming more accepted. It's trendy to have crystals now. It's the trendy kids thing.
I mean, there's been also periods in even within our lifetime where it's been trendy to be a witch and things like that. Rather than people having a genuine vested interest in it.
It's just was it Marks and Spencer's, TK Maxx or somewhere, they were selling with their clothes, they were selling tarot cards on the display because it was super cool.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Places like Urban Outfitters do a lot
That's
of stuff like that as well.
That's it. And I was so confused. I was like, but yeah.
I think along with that whole true crime stuff, just genuine interest in the esoteric has grown, especially around with younger age groups and things like that. And I guess it's something that back in the day would have been more frowned upon due to things like organized religion being more prevalent. I mean, these days we've got more people who would consider themselves atheists and stuff. So there's more openness to alternatives in spirituality and religion to a degree and stuff. So it's definitely more available, and and it's less shunned, I would say.
Yeah, it is very interesting because it's just a different way in having a belief in stuff and realizing or thinking like there's something at the heart of everything. I think that's the kind of basis and stuff. Like I do witchcraft and tarot reading, all that, but I still do believe in God and stuff and hell and the balance between good and evil. I believe that's very, if science comes in play, that with dark there is light, without light there is like there's always a difference. There's always a yin and yang to everything. So, and I think there's always got to be a balance, because if we always had too much of good, if we were completely in a life that had just everything was amazing, we would eventually do something which would make it chaotic.
It's interesting, you've got such an open view to the balance of both science and the supernatural, and also organized religion and esoteric spiritualism as well. And it's so interesting. You've got this duality in multiple aspects in your life, and you remain open to so much of it, and that's really cool in terms of seeking experience and discovering as you go along.
Well, thank you. I mean, I never see anything that comes good of being just closed mind to anything in general. I mean, I think closed mind always just causes alienation in anything. It just ironic alienation, but yeah, I feel like if you just have an open mind with things, you can choose if you like them or not. But like, if like someone's like, I want to explain an experience to you, and you're like, no, it's not real, no, closed book, don't say anything, I got my logic book right here, don't tell me your logic. It's just like, well, that's no fun.
I definitely also think that there's no point to ridiculing someone else for their beliefs or openness to their beliefs and things. I always get the impression, especially with things like spiritualism and stuff, that if you explain it to someone in the point of view of if you didn't know what a bee's nest was, probably still shouldn't kick one. Like, even if it's something you don't believe in or that you're unaware of and things, there's no point like stirring a pot into somebody else's passions and things like that, because at the end of the day, it ain't harming you. So I did have a lot of that growing up with it, like in school and stuff, when I told people like the dangers of it and everything, or things that you shouldn't do, and they found it very laughable. But I've had those experiences, because like one of the biggest things that people laugh about is the Ouija board. Yeah. And a lot of people, it's just a game, it's so fun and stuff. Let's get drunk and mess about with the spiritualist world. It's like, that seems like a really safe plan, doesn't it? Like, because even if you have the ever so slightest possibility of this going really wrong, maybe not do that.
But I don't think it goes wrong. Like I think people go into it being like, it's just people moving their hands around and it's a fun party trick. It can move across the table. But what happens when you're in that situation, when you're all there and none of you are actually moving it? You have it like your fingers are rested. At what point do you start to question why it's moving on it's moving on its own? What is making it move?
I think the thing that always makes me think that is really going to boil their noggin is the fact that, okay, let's accept that you are, through the very lightest of touch, all moving it. Mm-hmm. what's making you do that? Because if nobody's consciously deciding to move it,
why is it moving?
Then why is it moving? And is that, in which case, are you all coordinating movements? Is there some kind of subtle subconscious communication between each other, or is it something that is communicating with your subconscious to then move it and things like that? It's just like there's so much. Even if you take away the, a ghost is moving it, and it's like, well, you take your fingers off and it stops moving. Like, okay, well, it does have something to do with the contact, which means it's got something to do with you. And if none of you are, because you'd see the fingers pushing on
you
the
would
thing.
see, or you'd see a slight bit of pressure in the muscle on the hand or something. So as you press, you'd see the slight little touch of the bone. You know, you would.
Yeah. So if you
slightly move,
the fingers are resting on there,
just like continue. Yeah,
it doesn't mean that you can't be moving it, but it would mean that it would take multiple of you
to move it,
making slight movements for you all to be moving it together, and that coordination. It's interesting. Like. That leads you in multiple directions as to what could be the cause. So, yeah, it's a fascinating craft.
And then you can throw some science into there, because then you can say basically the Ouija board is part of a connection, and it needs the energy of a person, because we do exhibit energy as beings. We exhibit heat energy. We exhibit kinetic energy. We do all of those. So it's literally like putting, you had that battery in school and you did the two ends and the light lit up. You put it, you go like up, and the light would go pop. It's like that. So what is the thing that's cool, like at the other end, that's just been lit up? That's what you're wondering.
Yeah.
So you can see in both ways. But some people do joke about it, and then they do it, and then surprisingly, some things do happen.
So, do you find that you get a lot of crossover between your Twitch community and your following there and the podcast as well? Do you find that a lot of the people who watch one watch the other and vice versa, or do you find that they're kind of separate communities?
I think they're separate for now. I think because I'm finally getting into it and like doing a schedule now, because it was very sporadic the first time I started doing Spirit and Lore. I do want to merge them all, because I think it would be cool to have more people that are like, wow, this is a cool conspiracy. This is interesting. It'll be nice to merge them, and I hope they do merge. But I am seeing quite a few listeners on the podcast now, which is really nice. So hopefully, I just need to plug that I do video games and stuff.
Well, I do like that you've got a Discord as well. On your Discord, you've got a nice. There is communication between both communities for Voices in the Attic and for your Twitch channel as well, and they do seem to interact in both parts of the Discord channel and stuff.
Yeah,
so
and we did
seeing that crossover.
And we did do a community night the other night. We did a ghost hunting phasmophobia the other night, so that was really fun.
I was gutted I was working, so I couldn't join in, but I was just like, it sounds so much fun.
It was so fun, because like one of my viewers, he has the most amazing accent ever. Like I didn't expect him to, like his name was Alien or something. He was so cool. Like he jumped on a call. He just jumped in. I didn't expect anyone to really come except me and my friend Chelsea. But he jumped in, he was like, I'm ready to go. And I was like, okay. And then he's like a level 127 or something in Phasmophobia. He's like, right, I've got all the equipment, lads, let's get ready. Like, this is how he was speaking. He's got an amazing RAF voice. It was amazing. It was like, we were children.
Sopwith camel and take off.
No, honestly, he's like, right, we're going to need 2 heat sensors. We're going to need some radios for this mission. Don't worry, don't be on your own. There's going to be some dangers, but be careful. Like, it was like so cool.
That's like the spiffing Brit.
It was so cool, and honestly, like we were just running around and being idiots, like, guys, where are you, guys? Like he was like, right, don't go in there, don't talk to it like that, otherwise it's going to attack you. It was amazing. But just like, yeah, having that crossover is so fun. So I want more of that.
So with the Twitch channel, and obviously you've been putting a bit more onto your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to grow that? Do you have some more events coming up for that?
Yeah, so on the YouTube channel, I do want to get, so every Tuesday will be not Spirit and Lore, Voices from the Attic podcast and video podcast, because I know a lot of people like just watching podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing that right now. So
I mean, there you go. They like the options, so that's why I'm doing both at the same time. I think it's a shame because I have so many places around me that are haunted. And before lockdown, I wanted to go to some places and just film around because I really like weird abandoned buildings as well. So I wanted to do some videos of inside these very old buildings at like 12th century. So I did want to add that. So when we're out of lockdown, I can go back to doing that because about quite a bit away there is Pluckley, which is the most haunted place in the entire England and stuff. Actually a really nice place, but I'd like to do some filming there or just show people like the history of places and like why they're most haunted and what ghosts supposedly roam there and everything like that. So that's kind of plans for the YouTube.
I live down near Prestbury, which is another very haunted village in the UK and things. So I'll have to get you down this way at some point.
Oh, please do, because
And I love urbex as well, urban exploration, where you go to like abandoned places and stuff.
Yes.
Like that. So me and my partner, we've been looking at various places that we want to go and like old RAF bases and stuff like that, where you can just start exploring it and going like, are there any papers left here?
Exactly, because you might find a wall that's just got a load of letters and you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. I don't know. It just sounds cool.
I love the when you see places in sort of the outskirts of Chernobyl where you had like playgrounds and amusement parks, where nature's reclaimed it and taken it back.
And the animals as well. The animals are just like, I know they have, like, they just roam it, like, chill.
Have you heard about the dogs, the Chernobyl dogs?
Are those the ones that have grown really big, or is
No. So there's been a charity that's been going out to Chernobyl, and they've been finding the dogs that used to be domesticated dogs and have gone slightly feral. And what they've been doing is rescuing them, decontaminating them, and then rehabilitating them, and you can adopt them. You can adopt a Russian Chernobyl dog, and sort of give them a new lease of life, because obviously people had to evacuate so quickly that quite a few people left pets behind. So they're rescuing these pets and decontaminating them, getting all the radioactive dust out of their fur and giving them a good cleanse so that they're safe for adoption to other places and things. So it's amazing.
That's just fascinating, because if they've had litters of puppies, you want to know exactly, there's going to be some radiation in their DNA, what that's done to the DNA of the litters and stuff. If it's maybe given them I want to search the immunities they would have and stuff, if there was a difference, because there has to be some sort of difference.
Well, that's the thing, I suppose in fiction it shows it as quite a common thing that the DNA is massively altered forever. The truth is that with animals, a lot of DNA either leads to just things like cancer and health problems, and in some cases it's fairly benign for some animals, especially depending on how far away from the actual epicenter it was. So some of them, it's just cleaning them up and there's no issues. Some of them have some health concerns, so they have to be given medication and things to monitor it, but it's very rare that any kind of significant change or anything like that tends to actually happen. It's not like doesn't tend to be like The Simpsons, where you get the three-eyed fishes and things like that.
Yeah, the extra heads, the extra legs.
We're not quite in Fallout 3 just yet. So.
Yeah, not yet.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. There's hope for superhero powers. That's something.
We got the apocalypse going on, so there's that. So that's great.
Yeah, we're not far off that sometimes.
No.
So that's you're playing more community days with your Twitch channel and with your Discord community. More uploads with the YouTube channel, which is going so far. What about voice acting? Have you got roles coming up at the moment? Or
I've had quite a lot actually recently, which has been really, really nice, because it was last year when lockdown hit, like it started going really dry. Especially the voice work, you might have experienced that as well, because a lot of people were looking for other jobs and a lot of people at home. So a lot of people were going out buying microphones and being like, you know what, I can do voice acting. And then I'm like, no, my job. So that happened quite a bit last year. But no, it's literally in the last week or so, it has started to pick up, which is really nice. I don't know what's changed, but
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
not a bad thing, yeah.
No. So I've been doing just some teaching and stuff, like different teaching modules and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've been doing actually, I did a science module yesterday, which was like 40 pages of like every part, like skeletal bones, the brain, everything, just because it's going to be taught to people in Japan. So they're going to be using it as kind of a listen to the teacher speaking about science and stuff.
Yeah, like the whole, I remember when I was doing my GCSEs, they had on TV GCSE Bite Size, which was like
Yes.
a regular TV program like talking you through some of the
Amazing.
classes to kind of
Yeah.
as a study aid and things like that. But
Yeah.
obviously at the moment, with so many countries in lockdown, we're looking at a lot more online learning for schooling and things like that. So it's kind of a growth in that industry of voiceover for that sort of thing.
Yeah. But so yeah, I've been doing that. I've been doing, what have I doing? Lots of phone messages about the new year and stuff. We're back in business, or COVID regulations and stuff, but we're open, we're safe and open for business and everything like that. So some of those, just a mixed bag, really. Yeah.
But obviously, what you would like to do more in, I assume, is video games and animation.
Video games, animation, and I know this is a big, big goal, but I want to be in a Pixar film.
That's a cool goal to have, though. Like,
I do. Like, I don't even want to be a princess or anything. I just want to be a character anywhere. I could just be the tree that talks. I don't mind. But you know what I mean? Just to have that, there was two goals I've always wanted, with like Pixar or being in a Tim Burton film.
oh, cool.
Because I absolutely adore Tim Burton and his aesthetic. And I've always wanted to just be in that world. So yeah. How about you? What's your goals?
Yeah, video games. I mean, I've been lucky with the games I've been in already. And had a really good time with that, and I'm still under NDA for a couple of projects which I'm itching to scream about. So
Yeah.
waiting on that. But yeah, I'd like to do more games and stuff that just sort of like, I just like storytelling. That's the big thing. So creating big worlds and big storytelling worlds just is something that's I'm really keen on. So being involved in a big RPG or a big like storytelling experience would be something that I'd be keen on. So things like BioWare games or Naughty Dog games or
Yes.
stuff like that would be like a huge dream for me. Obviously there's I can't remember the name of the studio. It's the guys who did Divinity Original Sin are now doing Baldur's Gate 3.
Larian Studios?
Thank you. Yes, Larian Studios. And so I'd love to be involved in games like that, basically, where there's expansive worlds where your decisions have moral consequences.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of worlds that people can get lost in, and that's, for me, a big part of voice acting is creating a world, creating a tapestry, a story that people can put themselves into and go on a journey. And so if I can be a small cog in the big machine that creates those scenarios, that would be an absolute dream come true for me. So that's kind of my push, is to try and find games like that and worlds like that which I can be involved in. But I'm doing a webcomic that's being turned into an animation at the moment, and
That's so cool.
I'm voicing a lead character in that, so I'm really excited about being able to announce what that's about and what I'm doing with that a bit more thoroughly in the future and things. So yeah, that kind of stuff, really. It's good fun.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's fun, the storytelling, because you just dive into that character. Like, the best roles have always been like when I'm an elf or something, or a character which you wouldn't normally be, or something like that. You just jump into it, or a trailer when you're speaking of lands that have been filled with ruins and stuff, and the rising of the empire, and just like, it's just so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, when it's really epic and you can kind of get a bit lost in the role and stuff like that. It's when it can kind of be really fun. But I find almost with any characters, like, you can put an aspect of yourself into
the character
and go, well, if I had that circumstance of birth and growth and those influences on my life, I can see myself becoming at least partially that character, and the more you can put yourself in that scenario, and it's things that I've had some bad guy roles and things like that, and even sort of things that I have portrayed Nazis and things like that in some of my voice acting roles for games and films and animations and stuff like that, and you just kind of you have to try and put yourself into that space of going, and then, well, what if I had been indoctrinated into that kind of cult, and that's what I actually believe?
Yeah, like what would I be now in a sense and stuff.
Yeah, and just kind of go with what that character, because nobody, well, very few people I would think actually ever believe that they are the bad guy. You know, they'd see themselves as being
always the good guy,
righteous in whatever they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of have to. It's a really interesting test in empathy to try and put yourself into unusual characters' shoes and act from that perspective. Odd when it's creatures and things like that with motives that are harder to understand.
Yeah.
But difficult when you're portraying bad guys, when you've got to kind of have a reason to justify their actions. It's very scary.
That's so cool. Like, that's why I feel like when I see the documentaries, or like if there's like a true crime fictional series and stuff, like David Tennant, he did a serial killer recently and he played it to the T, and I'm just like, how the mind frame of this serial killer that did this thing, like the fact he can get into those shoes and be this character, like the serial killer, was very, very chalant about everything. He was called, I think, Dennis. Yes. And he was just that's it, yeah. And he just there's a few bodies and they're just in there. Like, it was just, to get into that mind frame, and then he portrayed it perfectly.
Yeah. David Tennant, well, for me, David Tennant will always be my Doctor.
He's my Doctor.
Yeah, when I got into Doctor Who, it was actually for Christopher Eccleston, and I was interested in Christopher Eccleston, and I was learning about Doctor Who, and then when it became David Tennant, I was like, that's the one. That's the one. Me.
Yeah.
And for me, since I've always wanted it to be David Tennant again, so I had this image of David Tennant as this joyful kind of adventurous character, and then I've seen him in several things as bad guys. I'm like, oh, he's so good.
Yeah, exactly.
There was I can't remember what it's called, but there was a TV series where it was all within the interrogation room of a police station, and there was 4 parts to it and stuff, and David Tennant was one of the characters in that, being interviewed in a police interrogation room. And he was phenomenal in that as a morally questionable character, and you're like,
yeah,
is he good, is he bad, did he do it, did he not? And it was just really good. Jessica Jones,
yeah, he was really good in that.
He's incredible in that. He's terrifying despite still being slightly sarcastic
and charming.
Yeah,
slightly,
definitely.
it's just like,
it's almost more disgusting because he is charming.
Yeah,
it's like, you're kind of attractive in a I'm totally gonna die kind of way.
Yeah.
He's a very charismatic, and I don't necessarily mean beautiful and handsome and stuff, but
very
he captures your attention on screen, which is not always an easy thing to do. There's a few actors around who can really
capture
just draw you into, okay, I can't really look at anyone else right now. I find John Bernthal's a lot like that, kind of in everything.
Yeah.
Every scene he's in, he has some kind of emetic energy where you're just like, I don't want to watch anyone else right now. And Gary Oldman is a lot like that as well.
Gary Oldman is
just, when he's on screen, like, nobody holds a torch. Like, you just can't handle it.
And then there's William Dafoe.
Yes. Yeah.
He's so evil as the Green Goblin.
Or defending, if he's the good guy, then he's William Defriend. So
exactly. There you go.
There's a film called Kingdom of Heaven. Have you ever seen Kingdom of Heaven?
I think I have, yeah.
It's a really interesting thing from an acting perspective, because you have Orlando Bloom as a lead character, and it's fairly early in Orlando Bloom's career, and a lot of people were quite hard on him because of some of the roles he'd been in, and not seen him as a very strong actor. And actually, I think he's a decent actor, but he's been in a lot of films with big stars that do command your presence. or have a commanding presence, I should say. But in Kingdom of Heaven, he is scene to scene, and I think it's actually one of Orlando Bloom's best performances, because in every scene he is forced to have screen time with absolute powerhouses. He's with Liam Neeson throughout the first third of the film.
Yeah.
And then it's Jeremy Irons, Ed Norton, just like, it's incredible. He's just like scene after scene of okay, Orlando, you need to step this up.
Yeah, and do it, yeah.
Absolute best. And it works. It like conjures out of him a really decent performance. Like Eva Green is in it as well, and he's having to do like this amazing sort of like cat and mouse flirting and seduction game with Eva Green. It's just like he just has no opportunity to let his guard down. It's just like,
I know.
He must have been so stressed in that film, but also excited to work with these people. But yeah, it made a film that has. It's not the perfect film by any means. It has a whole bunch of problems, but it made a film that could have been awful into something amazing by the quality and caliber of the actors that are in it, that just create really interesting scenes. As much as Edward Norton manages to convey a character whilst wearing a steel mask over his face the entire time, and he's like,
such a good actor again though, because he did American History X. Just
that's a hard film to get through.
Yeah, I know. And then Fight Club, and then he did the Hulk. Like, just the caliber of different experiences that he's brought on screen is just, it's so impressive.
Yeah, very much so. On the subject of acting, I wanted to ask if there have been any sort of standout roles that you've really enjoyed, things that you've gotten to sink your teeth into, that you've just gone like, this is great, this is awesome. Have there been roles that have piqued your interest in that way?
I did I did this indie game called Interstellar Genesis. And that was really fun. I got to it's like Stellaris, like it's a 4X game. And it was just so fun kind of being like this robot that helps you through the game and stuff. It's probably one of the most dialogue I've had in a video game or in general. But it's just nice because you sing to the world. You sing to the world of, there's so many unknown planets, you're in this galaxy and stuff, and you're just trying to help them along the way and everything. I probably sink my teeth into that.
So in that role, you are sort of partially being narrator for the player, and guide for them as well as being part of the UI as well, I suppose.
Exactly.
Cool. Very cool.
And then acting wise, I was an extra in this zombie movie, and it was so fun because it was like,
Were you a zombie or were you a survivor?
I was running. I was like a staff member that was escaping from a bunch of zombies, and they were chasing us. And like the set, when I got there, I was there all day from like I think 6 or 7. It was just insane. The set was so well done. It was like properly being on a proper set. And it was just all the fake arms and like different. Every single room in the set had been divided into a different set in a sense. So one was the operating room, one was a classroom. So it was just like how going around it, like don't press on the walls too much, they fall through, and you're like, okay.
So it's kind of odd having multiple locations in one location, kind of.
Yeah, because you just walk into someone like, oh wait, the classroom. Whoops, I'm not meant to be in here. It was just so fun. It was a really good film.
And if there was a dream role that you could put yourself into, what would it be?
Kind of World of Warcraft, or kind of like, I've always wanted to be in BioShock.
Such
I know,
world.
Yeah, I know they get the big names for that.
Not for every character. And,
that's true, yeah.
But yeah, like all the splicers and things like that, you've got a few people.
God, that'd be amazing. I want to be a splicer. So yeah, either that or Resident Evil, because I just saw the recent trailer and I was like, Oh my god! Like, you know when you see a role and you're like, I wish I somehow got us that role.
Are you lusting after being a 7 foot tall?
No, the other witches. The other cool like not witches, but zombified, blood-soaked
We'll find out what they are.
people.
It's fascinating. Honestly, the online thirst for all the female characters in the village is
I know.
so real.
It is.
It's
It is.
They're all like, "Step on me, big vampire lady."
I'm like, oh my god.
It's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, you've all been in lockdown too long. Bonk,
Yeah.
Go to horny jail.
Off you go. On.
Well, on that questionable note, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of the interview and chatting away with me for so long. If people want to find you online and find all your various projects, where are the best places for them to find you?
Twitter, you can find me at WolfieeLore and double E for Wolfie. Twitch, exactly the same, WolfieeLore, and Instagram and YouTube, WolfieeLore. And then if you want to find my podcast, it is on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you can find podcasts. It is Voices from the Attic. There you go.
There will be links in the description below. If you have any further questions for Lauren about any of her projects, please feel free to comment either in the video below or message her on Twitter or on Twitch during one of our live streams. Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.